Hi, hello, welcome to Critical Conversations. This is going to be a fucking fire conversation. You guys, today our guest is none other than my little sister, Sarah. And when I say little sister, she and I did not come out of the same vagina, yet we are the sisters that we chose. So I'm going to give a little bit of background here. I met Sarah and her family through our church where my mom was a pastor. And God, how old were you? I think you were like 2 or something. You were still in diapers. Yeah. And I started babysitting for Sarah and her family. And then, just over the years, just decided like we're sisters, we're family. This is it. Everyone can suck it. So today I have her on today for a really epic dialogue, and it's going to push buttons of people. So I just want to give that censor warning of like, if you're not open, leave the table because you don't need to be here. The whole point of this podcast is for people to lean in to learn. So I'm hoping that you will stick with us, lean in to learn. So she is currently I'll let you introduce yourself because I don't want to get it wrong. But I do want to say, being a part of your life and watching you grow up and watching you become who you've become is probably one of the coolest gifts that an older sibling, whether or not you're blood or not, could ever have, to watch you choose who you are and just to see your pure heart. So with that, you tell everyone what it is that you have now and what it is that you're up to.
Yeah, so I am a dental assistant by day and a drag king by night. And that means I dress up like a man and lip sync to songs instead of a woman. I am married to a lovely woman named Benny, and I have 2 amazing little kitty kids that I love deeply, one of which is right now in my lap. And yeah, it was a fucking honor to grow up with you. Truly, so much of the reason that I am who I am is because I had you breaking molds for me. So I got to I am because I watched you do it first. I owe so much of who I am to you, Kiss. Yeah.
I'm not crying, you are.
Yeah, true.
Actually, we hardly ever cry together. We usually just laugh and go to karaoke bars and have the best fucking time. And I will say, like, we'll get into some of the nitty gritty of who you are, but your wife, Benny, I literally can't imagine our family without her. Like, I'm so glad that you went on the journey you went on, because her impact and just like, if you guys ever meet her, you'll see what we're talking about. She's just like pure positive, calm, loving energy. Like, I don't think does she yell ever?
No. No.
Maybe only to tell you to shut up, but like,
yeah, it's truly just because I'm talking too loudly and she's like, I need you to stop. That's it.
Exactly. One of Sarah's amazing things is she knits, and she knitted me this gorgeous, gorgeous sweater. So I do want to toss out that she is very crafty. So if you're needing crafting things, it is something that she does on the side for fun.
True.
Okay, so let's dive into this conversation. We grew up in the church. We grew up in the confinements of be a good girl. And so really what we're talking about today is how we decided that a good girl doesn't necessarily mean being Leave It to Beaver housewife, who is just going to church on Sunday, baking, doing all these like womanly, feminine, traditional roles. And so I think it's interesting that you say I inspired you, because I feel like a lot of ways, if people were looking up to me, I think other people would be like, no, she fucked up. But in reality, I didn't necessarily fuck up, because I did it all in the right order, right? I was the good girl. I went to college. then I got married, then I had babies. Like, I didn't do anything out of the biblical order, really. I definitely had sex before I was married, which I'm a huge fucking advocate of, because
Yeah.
I mean, that's another topic for another day. But I think that it's so powerful to have this conversation around, like, what happened when you left home.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that happened to me, is I left home and I was like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
So what was it like when you left home?
So it was actually really interesting, because the reason why I kind of grew out of the like religious woman bubble that I was raised in was actually because of more religious teaching. So I was really lucky. Warner has its issues, but it teaches very liberally in terms of its theology. And so I started to learn about like the true women of the Bible and the context of it. Like, you have people like Junia, who was like a major priest in the time of the Bible, and there's actual passages about how she's like how amazing she is. In the First Testament, there's stories about women ending war by murdering like dictators. Like, there's the idea of like Ruth is actually very much like a sex worker, and she's praised for that. And like, if you look at like the context of it, and so I started learning about evangelical idea of what women are, and I started to realize that like even back then, women were not meek and quiet. They were out there like pushing shit forward, doing the real work. And so I was like, why am I not doing that? I already wanted to, but I had been shut down so many times growing up. So hearing that so many women that were praised by like the Messiah were these like loud, brash, bold women, it really encouraged me to be more of that. And then I saw so many people that I thought were so lovely. I like fell in love with these amazing women in my college, and not in the like gay way, in like a heart and soul friendship way. I fell in love with these and found mentors and women that were so outside of what I was told women should be, but they were so lovely that like I couldn't in my heart condemn them. And I couldn't say that they were wrong, because every part of me like felt seen and known by these like brash women. And so I was like, why the fuck am I not that? So that was my start in kind of like leaving the religious woman mold.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you say the religious woman mold, it's like the mold that we were told
Yeah.
is it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's so cool that you had that experience, because I had the same experience where I like moved in to this dorm and was immediately immersed with like so many different personalities and so many different beliefs. It's like there was a vegan, there was an atheist, there was somebody who like believed in the devil. She was a little scary, but it was like, but she was like the nicest person ever, but she definitely like had her like dark side. And it was like, oh, what? There's other, like, what do you mean that like, oh, you've never gone to church? Like, what would you do on Sunday? Like, are you kidding me? And so tell me what really clicked for you when you like, I mean, you kind of touched on it. Like, you started studying these women, which, by the way, I have no idea about any of this.
We'll talk about it sometime. I love to talk about like the real women in the Bible. Yeah.
So what was that like to like have that experience? I mean, what were the conversations that you were having with yourself? I mean, was it a challenge?
In some ways it was, but in other ways it wasn't, because I have always been like large and brash and loud. I like, even in kindergarten, I used to get the notes home from teacher of like, Sarah talks a lot and Sarah like doesn't have volume control, but she's really fun and all of this. So I've always been that, but I was just really condemned for it, and I was told, like, you shouldn't be this, or even not, if I wasn't told, it was shown to me that I shouldn't. All the women that were praised were completely opposite of me. And so it it wasn't hard in like the traditional ways of like me doubting it, but it was hard in the idea of like, oh, these parts of me that I was told are wrong and that I shouldn't like, they're actually beautiful and like are worthy of praise. And so learning to love those pieces of myself was really hard. But hearing like people be like, these women did these huge things and they were amazing, that didn't like cause dissonance in my brain. It was the rationalizing myself and like taking that internally and being like, and those pieces of me are also worthy of praise. That was
Ooh. Yeah, the embodiment of me too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the hard part.
Ugh. How long did it take you? Like what? I mean,
It took me till years out of college, honestly. I really struggled with like accepting those pieces of myself, and but I didn't realize how much I was struggling with it. And then I remember about like 2 to 3 years ago, like not of the soberest of mindsets, looking at myself in the mirror. I remember I like just stared at myself in the mirror and I was like, you are the hottest, coolest bitch that's ever existed. And and every single piece of you is a part of that. And it just really settled with me. It wasn't like a religious thing. I didn't feel like God came and told me. I just felt like it felt like this piece of my soul just kind of like ripped open and was like, no, you are amazing in everything that you are. And I just felt it, and I walked out of that bathroom, or kind of stumbled out of that bathroom, and I just, from then on, I was the hottest bitch and the funniest and coolest one in every room I entered, and I still believe that to this day.
yes, yes, she does, ladies and gentlemen. She walks into my house that way. Okay, let's stay on this religion topic before we go somewhere else. I want to talk about this mold. And my question is, it's so fucked up, Sarah.
Yeah.
And I know, and it's so fucked up because like what you just said is it wasn't God being like, oh, you fit this mold. But like, how many times did we go to church camp or, Bible school or whatever the fuck it was? And it's kind of like, I want to say like minions. Like they did really want everyone to kind of like fit in this certain like way. Like, oh, you don't dress that way. Oh, you don't listen to that. Oh, and I'm not, and listen, I love God and God is like my main dude, but I wouldn't ever step back into a church because I think what the church does is shift and shape us to fit the mold of the church. Like one of the biggest revelations I think I had in religion was when I was reading a personal development book on spirituality, and it was all about money and healing your wounds to money. And I remember being in Bible school and they said something around like for the love of money is evil, or they said money is evil. Money is the root of all evil. That was like what was embedded in my brain, right? And then I'm like reading this spiritual book, and the actual full scripture says, for the love of money is evil. And I'm just like, oh my God, how many other things were condensed down to fit this, this mold of what the church wanted us to believe. And listen, there are amazing people. I want to like give this disclaimer. There are fucking amazing people in the church. There are lovely people who I love and respect. It wasn't for me. And I think that's like the conversation that we're having is like, it's okay if it's not for you. And it is absolutely okay that it fits other people. But the conversation I want to have is, what did it feel like growing up and knowing that you were meant to be somewhere else and trying to fit this mold?
of love as you are, and that you have to change yourself, which is so like not in line with any of the actual scriptures of like you were stitched together in the womb exactly as you are, and then I would be exactly as I was, and I would be shunned and I would be like pushed aside for people who were completely opposite of me, and it was always the same type of person, the kind of not meek, but like they weren't the first person to raise their hand. They were quieter in terms of women. The men were always the first one to raise their hand. And that it just made me feel so small. And I am not a small person. I like in any way. It was just it was exhausting and heartbreaking, and it just hurt. It just hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the piece of it, right? Is if you do understand spirituality, you understand the uniqueness and the individuality of it, and I feel like that's where the mark was missed for me.
Yeah, if we believe in we believe in this overarching God that is beyond our comprehension, why are the people that were made in that image only allowed to be one thing?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, we could go on about religion forever, but I want the reason I brought you on is because I want you to inspire others who feel confined by whatever cage is blocking them in, but your story is really unique. The church, and then it's coming out, and it's really being like, okay, I'm gay. I
Yeah.
love women. Tell us about that.
Honestly, I owe pretty much all of that to my wife. I had buried it so deep in me that I refused to admit it. And then I met this woman, and she like made my heart stutter in a way I'd never felt. I'd never felt so giddy and like so just kind of schoolgirl around anyone until I met her. And I just it was an undeniable thing, and it changed my entire view of myself. I had never even considered that I was gay. I had dated men before, and but I met this woman and she changed everything for me. And as you said, like she is so amazing. Like she is truly so amazing. And she is so kind and soft and everything that is good in this world. And so I was like, there's no way that this can be wrong. There's no way that loving someone that embodies all goodness can be wrong. So I don't really care what at the beginning it was I don't really care what body parts she has. And then as I kind of got into that, I went, oh wait, maybe it is. Like maybe a big part of it is what kind of body parts she has.
These are dope body parts.
Wait, maybe this is actually a big part of it, and maybe this is it. And so it was really a progressive thing of like falling in love with her. Made me fall in love with women in general because I allowed myself to, and then allowed myself to fall in love with myself as a woman. And like it all started because I met someone and it was undeniable. Like, and sometimes it's just undeniable. And like, if God is a being in the sky that spoke to other people, why can't that being speak to me and like tell me what's right? And everything was right when I met her, and it changed everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm getting like emotional and I like have goosebumps as you're speaking because it breaks my heart to know that so many people have lived their lives. They're dead now. And
Yeah.
they lived their lives being told that they couldn't be who they were, and they were miserable inside, and they had to like play a part that wasn't, I mean, maybe it was the part that they were supposed to play, but like, you know, if it had they been given permission to be who they are, I just like, as someone who has liberated themselves, you know, and witnessing you liberate yourself, to know joy, to
Yeah.
know love, to really be able to be like, I'm a fucking boss. Like, I'm beautiful. And like, yeah, I got acne sometimes, and this shit's a little saggy over here. And like, I'm not a size 0, but like, damn, I look good today. Like
Yeah.
it breaks my heart that so many people have lived, are living, and will live in this cage. And really that's like what I'm doing now in my coaching business is I want to liberate women. I don't care what you believe. I don't care who you love. I don't care what you identify as. You deserve to feel free and spacious and joyful. And it breaks my heart that too many people are trying to fit in this box that they were never meant to be in.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I really I always struggled the laws of like what gets you into heaven and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. Like when you make this statement, like if God is this being who stitched me to perfection, how is this wrong? Like how is so I actually like I don't even remember you coming out. I didn't block it out of my mind. It was never a big deal. And I think that's because I was in the dance world, so there were always people who were gay. I was constantly surrounded by male dancers. One of my best friends, as you know, Nikki, is trans. She's missing. And she was the most I mean, I love the trans community because you will never meet I don't care who you are. You will never meet more genuine love. You just won't. You just won't.
Correct.
And so I'm getting emotional because Nikki is missing. She's been missing for a couple years now. Yeah. But I don't even remember your story because at that point I was already really close with Nikki. I had been immersed in the dance world. Mm-hmm. So can you, for people who are like, oh my God, this is me. What was your experience like? Like, what did it take for you to be able to speak it out? I mean, obviously you grew up in the confinements of the church. That must have been really hard to tell mom and dad.
Yeah. So luckily I had kind of figured out my theology around queerness like a couple years before in college. And so my own personal thing, it wasn't an issue. I came out because I knew that Benny and I were going to start dating. I knew we were going to start dating. It had been like the whole high school thing of her friend contacted my friend and was like, they like each other. And so I knew she was going to ask me out. And I knew that this woman deserved to be loved and celebrated. And so I could not start dating her if I was in the closet because that would not be fair to her. So it was actually on Father's Day. It was like right before we went to your house later that day.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. On Father's Day.
It's all coming back to me.
I was like, fuck, I'm going to date this girl. I have to come out to my parents. And so I called my parents down one by one. And I was like, and they had met her. They knew her. I was like, hey, I like someone. I think I'm going to start dating someone. Her name is Benny. And it was hard. It was really hard. It was not easy. It was really scary. My dad had the best reaction. His first response was, "You have really good taste," which I was like, "Correct, you have really good taste." My wife is gorgeous, and but it was really hard and it was really scary. But I just knew that I couldn't deny myself love. I had been denied and denied myself love for so many years. And I just knew in my bones that this was a chance at something really special, and I couldn't deny it for myself, and I couldn't deny it for her because she deserved to have someone love her fully and openly and honestly. And so I knew I had to do it. So I did it for her. I was like, I have to make this jump. She had come out years before, and so I wasn't gonna do it to her. So yeah, that's how I made it.
I do remember it. It's coming back to me. I don't remember it being. I think it's just kind of like one of those things because it doesn't matter. Yeah, it just doesn't. Like I being part of Nikki's life, there are so many conversations we had around it, and I learned so much. And I think the biggest misconception about being is it non-cis? Is that how you would say it?
Yeah, I mean, you could just say trans in general, because trans just means not cis.
Okay, great. So, which, by the way, you guys, I used to always ask Sarah, I'm like, okay, let me get this right. Can you tell me, am I saying this the right way? Because here's the thing. The most important thing to people is their name, right?
Yeah.
When you meet somebody, like, if they say your name wrong, like, it doesn't feel good. And so I think the thing that is really important, and these are the conversations I had a lot with Nikki early on in my relationship with her, was like, explain to me, like, I really wanted to understand the feeling, because I really think that is the piece that's lost in the sanctity of a church, is the independence of how do I feel. And I know this to be true because early in my marriage, I used to be like, no, we go to church because it's what we do. Mm-hmm. It makes my mom happy. Like, just, you need to come and you need to sit. And I remember we went one Christmas Eve and he walked out, we got in the car and he's like, I'm not fucking doing this again. He's like, I'm a good person. And every time I walk into that building, I'm made to think that everything I've ever done is wrong and bad. And I don't believe that. I believe everything I've done has taught me something. Yeah. And so I think the thing that I would love to end this episode on, which I think we could talk about this forever. Yeah. Is, what would you tell people who feel boxed in or caged in?
The first step is listening to yourself. It's, listen to yourself and your feelings of joy and love, and follow that. Like, follow yourself. It's really great. Like, if you believe in God, like, God made you and is in you. And so following yourself is the truest way that you can honor God, because you are made in this divine being's image. So follow yourself. Don't listen to the other people. Take time. And I live by this Kurt Vonnegut quote: I urge you to please notice when you are happy. And noticing when you are happy and when you feel yourself, like, that is when you are at one with the divine creator that made you, because you are yourself and yourself is the divine being, and follow that wherever that leads you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one of the things that I've really honed in the last 5 years or so in my personal development, spiritual journey, kind of uncaging of myself, right, is understanding that I'm not separate. Yeah. God is not outside of me. Whatever I believe, it's not outside of me. It's actually within me. Yeah. And the more in tune with feeling good I have, the more goodness and light radiates out and allows other people to feel goodness and light. And I think that's just the basis of it all, is like, how do you feel? Yeah. How do you feel? And why are you separating yourself from what you deserve, which is to feel like, I guess if you like feeling bad, like, go forth, my friend. But like, I think most of us want to feel joy or spaciousness, freedom, lightness, you know? And so really, I think it's so interesting. I know that one of our family members is going to listen to this, and I think I want to end on this: is the way that I choose to live is none of your business. And if you're making it mean something about you, that's a you thing. Yeah. So Sarah being gay means nothing about me and my joy. That part right there. Yeah. Like, we are all together. We're all entangled. And the most important thing for me is that you feel joy. So if you feel joy being your fullest expression of yourself, which is you as you are today, then that means nothing about my ability to have joy. Yeah. And actually, I think you finding joy gives me permission to be like, okay, where am I not the fullest expression of myself? So like I look at it as an opportunity for me to like find my own joy within the confinements or restraints that I've put upon myself, or that I think are put upon me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any final thoughts for you?
Be gay, feel joy. If you, I am always here. If anyone ever wants to dive deeper into queerness, I am around. You can find me. My drag profile is public. My personal profile is not. Sorry, you cannot reach me there. But you can find me at Sincere Drag, just the word Sincere Drag. And I am always open to talking about religion, queerness, drag, and I would be happy to speak with anyone who's struggling or just has questions, because frankly, don't burden the queer people in your life. I'm giving you permission to burden me. So
yeah, and also knitting. If you she gave me like really cool buttons, so she can do cool buttons too. Sarah is an amazing thespian. I'll never forget, my favorite play that I ever saw you in was Legally Blonde. You fucking crushed it. You were absolutely phenomenal. You played Paulette.
Yep, the hairdresser.
So good, you guys, so good. So anyways, if you ever are in Portland and you want to catch a drag show, just hit us up. I will go with you. I love watching Sarah on stage. It is really where you shine. You're a joyful light being. I'm so fucking thankful to call you my family. Please go give Turtle and Benny my love.
I will. She's right here.
Awesome. Oh, I knew she was close. She does not leave your side.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. She's my baby.
She's your baby. Where's your other cat?
Chicken.
Avoiding?
Chicken's like right. He's up in the cat tree right now.
Avoiding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I love you. Thank you for coming on and being vulnerable and sharing. And I will make sure all your details are in the bio so people can find you.
Yay. I love you too.